Hello and welcome to the KMN Show. I'm your host, Kyle Cushman, and if you're a hockey fan, then you're listening to the right show. Every week, Wednesday at noon, we'll be talking about the latest in the hockey world, and it's a perfect day to start because we've got the first game of the season coming up just a few hours away. We've got plenty to get into today, but before we dive in, I'm going to throw it into the rest of the show to introduce themselves.
So my name's Nigel. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, and I'm really psyched to be a part of this KMN show, so I'm ready. Let's get it.
My name is Matthew Mallard, and same goes for me. I'm super excited. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, so yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. Tonight, finally opening night of the season. It feels like we've been waiting forever for this, especially with the Leafs moves and everything throughout the summer. So, opening night tonight. You're going to Real Sports tonight, aren't you?
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
The both of us will be attending Real Sports Bar and Grill. Should be a pretty electric atmosphere, I'm assuming.
And I will be attending an electric 6 to 8 p.m. sound production lab. So
it's all part of it.
We'll be paying attention to about 50% of that, and then we'll be paying attention to John Tavares as a Toronto Maple Leaf. And so with that little introduction out of the way, we're going to kick things off with some Leafs opening roster. So the Leafs announced their opening roster a couple days ago now. They announced it on Monday. Their final cuts were Curtis McElhinney, Calvin Pickard, and trading Connor Carrick. So starting off with those final cuts, what would you guys have done differently, if anything?
I don't know. I feel like the way they handled the whole the goalie situation, I want to say, was not something I was too impressed with, because McElhinney's been the backup guy for how long now? 2 years. It's not that long, but still, he's earned that spot in my eyes.
I co-sign with that. I think Curtis McElhinney, you could argue, was one of the best backup goalies in hockey last year. Stood on his head several occasions you can remember for the Leafs last year. Easily played a huge part because of how heavy we rely on Freddie Anderson. Whenever he had to come in, he did a good enough job, and I think, in my personal opinion, he deserved another season with the Leafs, but obviously they wanted to go younger, so you have to respect both sides of it.
So were you both on team keep Curtis McElhinney and potentially waive Sparks and Pickard, or were you on the side of the younger goalies?
Well, no, the problem was the contracts, like the amount of contracts they had, right? So they had to lose some people, but I feel like there could have been another way to keep both McElhinney and Sparks in the system. If it comes down to it and you can only choose one or the other, I'm gonna choose Sparks, because I don't just want to lose him for nothing. He's a great goalie. He's still young.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
And that I agree with that, because it's like Sparks is still young and he's obviously put up ridiculous numbers in the AHL last year, and you don't want to just lose that for nothing. But at the same time, it's like Curtis McElhinney also had such a great season as a backup last year. You also don't want to lose that for nothing. So I was kind of torn, but ultimately I think it will work out just fine for the Leafs.
McElhinney had what, 935 save percentage last year?
Yeah, I think it was a 9.34, but I'll double check that.
Yeah, how old is he?
35.
35. Yeah, he's getting old.
Yeah, and that's where you have to look at it and say, like, okay, you have to make a choice. I when it comes down to it, I think they did make the right choice for the future, but for this year, I think maybe.
Yeah.
You've got to weigh the risk and reward. You're taking the potentially known commodity in Curtis McElhinney, who's had 2 stellar seasons with the Leafs, but over his entire NHL career, he still has the lowest career save percentage in the NHL as an active goalie. And then you've got Garrett Sparks, who is the unknown, who's 25, has put up insane numbers in the AHL over the last couple of seasons now. And so you've got to weigh the potential known commodity in Curtis McElhinney and knowing what he's done for you the last 2 seasons, or you take the risk with the young goalie and potentially have your backup for the next 10 years.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to say is I don't think any of us expected Pickard and McElhinney to both get claimed off waivers. Some people maybe did, but I think it was a bit of a long shot for both of them to get claimed.
Yeah.
I thought at least one of them was still going to end up at the Marlies, so it's a little unfortunate that we have to lose a lot of goaltending depth, but...
Well, who do you have in the Marlies now? Kasky, Swo?
Kasky, Swo, and nobody else right now.
Yeah, who?
Joseph
Woll?
Joseph Woll
is still with Boston College at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go.
Right now, the goalie situation with the Marlies, they have Justin Peters on a tryout.
Yeah.
And then they have Eamon McAdam, who is under an NHL contract. They got him in the Matt Martin trade. He was just a contract coming back. He's currently with the Newfoundland Growlers in the ECHL.
Mm-hmm.
So Now, one thing with McElhinney and Pickard being claimed off waivers, that was completely just by chance because Michael Neuwirth is going to be out for a bit. Alex Lyon got hurt in Philly camp, so they had two of their goalies go down. That was just bad luck for the Leafs. And then Scott Darling goes down for Carolina in their last preseason game and is out for a couple weeks. So I wouldn't be surprised if this bad Leaf situation, in the Marlies' depth at least in goal, only lasts for a couple of weeks before Calvin Pickard and Curtis McElhinney go back on waivers and potentially go to the Marlies at some point this season.
I'd scoop him.
Yeah,
I'd take him
100%,
right back.
because Pickard, great numbers in the AHL. Like, again, helped Sparks become the goalie he is. People say that. And obviously Curtis McElhinney, great backup goalie last year in the NHL. So,
Hey, gotta love Mac.
How do you not love Curtis McElhinney?
exactly.
It was so... he's so much fun in goal. He's just insane in net, and he was so much fun to watch. But it was just time to move on, and I'm excited to see what Garrett Sparks can do this season.
Yeah, it was good to see them get picked up, though, right? It was
Yeah,
good to see that they were
sure.
wanted.
For sure.
Yeah, so that I'm happy.
Yeah.
Happy
Okay.
about
So moving on from the goaltender, different controversy to the defense, because that's the other position where there were some interesting
go.
cuts made. Martin Marincin and Justin Hall made the team over Connor Carrick and Callie Rosen.
Where do you want us to begin on this one?
I know the rest of the room aren't huge fans of Martin Marincin, so we'll
That's
maybe
an
gloss
understatement.
over that for a little bit. What do you think about how they handled, the Connor Carrick situation?
They got something for him.
Yeah, I didn't want to see him become Josh Levo 2.0 because I like Connor Carrick is one of my favorite like personalities and players in the NHL. Like I liked watching him on the Leafs when he did get to play, and obviously I'm a big Josh Levo fan too, and I hated seeing him sit on the sidelines all of last year. So I'm happy that he's going to get a chance to play. Hopefully, it looks like he's going to get one of the final roster spots in Dallas and their blue line. So that's really good to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes down to like if you have space for a player too, right? I mean, I understand the Levo situation a little bit. Obviously, he could have played for the Leafs last year, right?
Yeah.
I think we can agree on that.
Absolutely.
But I mean, when you have players like Komarov and Martin making money, you don't just want to sit that money out, right? If they're on your cap hit, you kind of have to play them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can't just have what
Well,
is
I mean,
that?
you don't have to.
Okay, well, between the two of them, what is it?
Well, at the very least, you don't have to play those guys night in and night out. You can rotate the
Yeah.
lineup a bit. You can play those guys like just on the second half of back-to-back. Just play Josh Levo kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and the thing was like Gauthier played just as much as Levo last year, right? Is that
More or less. Yeah.
right?
Played about the same. I can't remember exactly. I know at least 2 years ago he played more than him.
Yeah.
But getting back to the defense and Connor Carrick specifically, I think that's exactly the difference between Kyle Dubas and Lou Lamoriello. He's not going to let that player sit on the sidelines in the prime of his career just gaining dust on the bench. Like Josh Levo, if he's not playing this year, he's going to be waived or traded. That
That's a
situation
fact,
isn't
yeah.
going to continue this year. And that's exactly what happened with Connor Carrick. They didn't want him playing as the 7th, 8th defenseman who's not going to get in. They would rather have guys like Martin Marincin and Justin Hall, who are 26, 27. They're not going to be progressing anymore in the AHL or progressing anymore as NHL players. They are what they are. Connor Carrick is 24. He's still got some room to grow, especially with some playing time. And now in Dallas, in a situation where they've got a couple injuries and they've got some spots open on the right side, I could really see him performing well in Dallas. And he's out of a situation in Toronto where he wouldn't have been playing at all.
Yeah, I think it's funny that he takes Polak's spot too.
Yeah, that's
in Dallas.
Cyclical return in a sense.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah, there's something about that that's just cherry on top for him, I bet.
Right? I mean, Justin Hall earned his spot.
I would agree with that.
He played 2 games last year, and I mean,
Scored
Pretty
both.
good 2 games. Yeah.
right?
Shooting 100%, that's not bad.
I mean,
Ozhiganov obviously had to make
Ilja
the team.
Ganov was absolutely making the team,
Yeah.
I think, regardless as to how camp went, just because you don't bring a guy over from the KHL like him and you don't at least try him in the NHL, give him a chance
Exactly.
to
like
kind of adapt to the different ice surface. So I could have seen him maybe going to the Marlies on like a short couple weeks stint like the Islanders are doing with Jan Kovac as one of their centers. They signed him to a $2 million deal and sent him down to the minors, which Yeah, Lou Lamoriello. Thank you, Kyle Dubas. But yeah, I think that's definitely an interesting one. Ojiganov, I'm excited to see how he does tonight with Travis Dermott. The other defenseman situation I want to talk about was Calle Rosen. What did you guys think about his preseason, and do you think he should have made the team?
Again, it comes down to space, and I think when you look at who the Leafs had available to them, I don't think he makes a team now.
I think Hull, Ojiganov are definitely better, and even Marinson, in my opinion, is a better option on the blue line than Calle Rosen. In my opinion, give him a couple years.
Yeah, Calle Rosen, I think he performed well enough to be an extra defenseman on the Leafs, but his age combined, he's already 23, 24, so he's on the higher end, but he didn't require waivers, and I think he's got a lot more to learn in the AHL than a guy like Martin Marinson does. Marinson isn't going to get it. He's not going to improve puck handling wise. He's not going to improve shooting the puck. A guy like Calle Rosen, he's already got those offensive skills. He's got great passing. He's really good on breakouts. He just needs to improve the defensive side, and I think that he could really. We saw it last year in the Calder Cup playoffs. He was a beast for the Marlies, easily their best defenseman. And I think that he's an interesting call-up candidate later in the year, but it made sense to send him down right now. So looking ahead, that's a good little brief discussion on the Leafs opening roster. Now let's get into Leafs Habs tonight.
Big game.
I mean, you always love a Leafs Habs matchup. Doesn't matter. I mean, obviously the Habs right now aren't what they used to be 3-4 years ago, but you still love. It's the best rivalry in hockey, in my biased opinion. But I think it's the best rivalry in hockey, and you'll never not enjoy a Leafs Habs game. I like watching it. If they lose 5-0, you'll not enjoy it, but you'll always enjoy like the.
Well, I don't think the Habs are scoring 5 goals in a game at all this season, so I don't think we have to worry about that one. The Habs have a couple interesting lineup decisions tonight. It looks like Thomas Plekanec is going to be a healthy scratch, as is Karl Alzner, which is interesting.
I mean, it's not 2013 anymore. I guess we can say that. Where Plekanec and Alzner were two of the better players in the NHL. Clearly, age is catching up to them, but I still think Thomas Plekanec deserves to be starting over maybe someone like I don't know about Pekka, but what did you say their centers are for tonight?
The centers tonight are Danault, Kotkaniemi, Domi, and Pekka, and then the fourth line as a whole is Charles Hudon, Matthew Pekka, and Andrew Shaw.
See, like you have to throw Plekanec is a legend in Montreal. I feel like he deserves a spot somewhere on that roster, but obviously.
And I feel that Thomas Plekanec as a fourth line center provides more value to you than Andrew Shaw on your fourth line.
Yeah.
Does he want to play fourth line center though? Because there are some centermen in the NHL that
he did it
play.
he did it for Toronto.
Do you want to play fourth line?
Yeah.
Do you want to play fourth line center? Or do you want to sit on the bench as a hockey
I don't
player?
I don't think Thomas Plekanec is one of those guys either.
Yeah.
So we'll also get to see the NHL debut of Jesperi Kotkaniemi centering the second line between Jonathan Drouin and Joel Armia, which should be interesting to watch for sure. Yeah. I didn't think Kotkaniemi would make the NHL this year.
Oh, after watching him in preseason, there's no way he wasn't. He was in my opinion their best player.
I thought it was.
That's not saying much.
I mean, everyone when he was drafted said this guy is still a year away. Like he still needs a year.
Yeah, I thought for sure he'd be a year away, and regardless as to how his preseason went, I personally would have either sent him to AHL Laval or sent him back to Liga.
Yeah,
I just don't think that this is a Habs team that really should rush that kind of player to the NHL, especially in the Montreal market.
But at the same time, as the fans, I think saw his preseason, and they're obviously Montreal has some extremely passionate fans. If I was, let's say it's the Leafs 3 years ago when they were absolute. They weren't as good as a team. They were in the Hab kind of situation 3-4 years ago. If there's a player like that in the preseason, every Leafs fan would be begging the organization to keep him on the team for the regular season. So I think they would have maybe seen some backlash. And although maybe it's not right technically for the player's development, I think you have to take a chance and see what he can do.
Well, yeah, you have to remember a couple of months ago, this was an organization, this fan base that was up in arms.
Yeah.
When they chose this player.
I still think they're okay. Yeah, that's fair. I don't think that they should have been as up in arms as they were about the Kotkaniemi pick. I think there were a couple other teams that maybe should have been a little more angry with their teams about the selections they made, specifically Ottawa and Arizona. But Kotkaniemi he's a damn good player.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I just don't think that they really need to rush him into a Montreal market a couple months after he's been drafted as the second line center.
If you're ready, you're ready. And to me, he showed he was ready. And how old is he? He's still 18, no?
Yeah.
18.
Yeah.
His birthday is like in a week or 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, he can. If you're the best player on an NHL roster through training camp, I don't care how old you are. I'm putting you on my.
Well, that sounds like Semyon Duragachintsev to me.
No, he wasn't the best.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Actually,
The
yeah,
kid's
no,
like 14.
Kotkaniemi's 18 for this entire year. Like, he's a 2000
doesn't
baby.
he have
I got that wrong. Yeah.
Does he have a later birthday?
It's the 6th of July. So like,
So yeah, that's definitely so he was a younger player in the draft as well, which is another factor. And I wouldn't be surprised if he plays 9 games and they decide at that point.
yeah, we're at the point where there's NHL players who were born in the same year as us.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
So which is very sad for me.
I'm past that.
Yeah, actually.
My draft year was a year ago.
Yeah.
It's pretty depressing. But yeah. Let's just hope Kotkaniemi doesn't pull an Austin Matthews tonight and put up 4 goals. That
Oh God, please no.
That's John Tavares' job tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
debut.
could you imagine? Just imagine being in real sports if that happened.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That'd be insane. So the rest of the Hab Center, Max Domi is playing center tonight, which should be fun going up against one of Tavares, Matthews, or Kadri in your center debut. That should be a good time. Philip Deneau, first line center. I mean,
Kadri's the number 1 center on that team.
100%.
Kadri's the number 1 center on a lot of teams in the NHL.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Back-to-back
There's a handful.
3-goal
There's a
seasons.
handful
People
of
forget
teams.
that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say 10.
And their defense is
7.
just
We'll go through that another
atrocious.
time.
Yeah.
Like, their second pairing is Mike Riley and Noah Juleson.
Their second pairing?
Their second pairing.
Yeah, Shea Weber's out.
Yeah.
They
Christmas.
have a couple of injuries. Shea Weber's out.
Should we talk
That's the
about
big
how
one.
they named a player out till Christmas captain, or should we just let that?
I mean,
That's
you can talk about it if you want.
I just want to say that's a stupid organizational decision from the
Why are you
Habs.
doing it now?
Yeah,
Well,
just
yeah.
have assistants. But sorry about that. But yeah, I just have assistants if I was being honest. But yeah.
I just don't understand the timing of it, why you're picking Shea Weber, any of that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
No.
But injury-wise, Montreal has David Schlemko and Shea Weber on waivers. Or sorry, not on waivers, on IR. And so that's 2 big parts of their defense. And so it is just absolutely depleted, and I'm kind of scared for them tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I look at this roster right now, and there's only a few players that really excite me. Just hold it off. So, yeah. There's only a few players that really excite me. So, I don't know. This if you're a Habs fan, unfortunately, I think it might be a bit of a rough year and boring year to watch this team. But like I said again, there's Kotkaniemi and Victor Mete. So.
Yeah, they've just gutted everything.
Yeah.
It's just
They've gutted everything except for one thing. What kind of Carey Price are we going to get this year?
Yeah, that's okay. Montreal needs to decide what they're doing right now, because
That 8-year deal kicks in this year.
you can't
Yeah.
rebuild with Carey Price.
Unless Carey Price
Sorry.
plays like he did last year, in which case you can very easily tank with him. But I don't think that's
You
the Carey
won't.
Price we're going to get.
No, you won't,
No,
because
it's
Carey Price.
Now, is he going to get it back up to the 925 that he used to be? Or
I
is
could
he
see
going
Is
to
it- yeah.
even out as more of a 915, 917 guy?
Is it morally wrong for me to want him to be good as a Leafs fan? But
No.
I love Carey Price. I'll say it. I'm a Leafs fan, but I have a lot of respect for him.
yeah.
He's one of my favorite players in
The
the
NHL is way more fun
Yeah, when Carey Price is good.
when Carey Price is good.
Yeah, exactly. 2012 Carey Price. That's
Oh, yeah.
inject that in my veins. 2012 Carey. But yeah, I'm rooting for him. Obviously, great. Any Canadian goal. Most Canadians I'll root for in the NHL. So hopefully he can.
Anytime a big name player goes down like that,
It's kinda sad,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's upsetting. But I mean,
He's still got time.
Yeah, they've got plenty of time. They've got 8 years to figure it out. But yeah, I definitely think it's not going to be like the 905 that it was last year and just the garbage. But I don't think it's going to be overly fantastic either, especially with that defense that they have. I just don't see that defense helping him out at all. And even if he does get back up to some of the form that he has had in the past, it's not going to be those gaudy numbers that everyone's like, wow, okay, Carey Price is back.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about Leafs. We've talked about the Habs a fair bit tonight. What do you think's going to happen tonight? Predictions.
Do Do you want to score?
Score?
Yeah, give me a
or what do we,
give me a
what do we
score.
think a headline's going to be after the game? Is that what you're asking?
I have a prediction. I was thinking about this last night when I was trying to fall asleep. I say 3-1 Leafs, 2 goals from Tavares and an assist, gets 3 points, and Kotkaniemi scores a goal for the Habs.
Ooh, okay.
Going 3-1 Leafs.
Okay. I'll go next. I think it'll be 5-2 Leafs.
Okay.
And I think that the headline tomorrow will be nice and cheesy. It'll be something along the lines of "Here's Johnny," because that's an easy headline for people to make.
Yeah.
And I think Tavares is going to have an awesome game tonight.
Yeah.
I think Gallagher's going to score.
Really?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That would just
Okay.
annoy me. I really don't like him.
You don't like him?
Nah.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a brat. But
He's the kind of player that you love if he's on your
Yeah.
team and absolutely despise if
Now
he's
some
on the other
Kadri.
30.
Do him and Kadri get into
Yeah,
it
some-
tonight? That's another.
That's inevitable. Come on
Yeah.
now.
I can't wait for the headline in like 2 weeks to be, has Tavares hit a wall?
Oh,
Is he
Bad
overpaid?
decision. Yeah. Is Tavares overpaid? Did the
Don't
Leafs
even.
make the right decision signing John
I
Tavares?
saw an article today saying that Kyle Dubas shouldn't have signed John Tavares.
Yeah, well. Is it a Marcus
And
from Montreal?
I'm like, okay, I'm just blocking that account.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So one final thing that's lying over the Leafs at the beginning of this season is a guy by the name of Bill Nye, the hockey guy, William Nylander. What are your thoughts on the contract dispute?
Can I pose a question on this that I want to hear you guys
Absolutely.
No.
If they get offer sheeted $7 million,
No. Yes.
do you match or do you let them walk?
Absolutely match.
I match up till 8.
You match up to 8?
I let him walk
I
at
agree
8.
with that.
Okay.
If you're
Because I
gonna-
was thinking about it. Picks. I don't think picks mean anything to the Leafs right now. We're like the Penguins 3 years ago, where we're like, you can have all our first round picks. We want to win now.
Mhm.
Like, as much as like I love developing prospects and I love seeing, a prospect come up. Like, I don't think a first round pick is anywhere near the value of what William Nylander can do to your team,
Okay,
or multiple first round picks.
and there's a question there. How much is William Nylander worth to this team?
At like a
It
cap.
depends how long the contract is.
True.
If it's, I think that it'll end up being 6 years.
You think 6?
Yeah, and I think somewhere in the 6.5, 7 range is probably where it ends up,
I'm fine with that.
which is fair.
I'm good. I agree. Anything over 8, but if we're doing
If
we're doing
anything
8,
over
it has to-
7.5.
Just over 8.
If we're
I
doing
mean.
anything at 8, it has to be shorter. I'm not doing like 6 years of 8.
Well,
I
I
want
don't even
8 of
see why.
You want 8 of 8?
If I'm signing William Nylander
Yeah.
for 8, I want him for as long as I can have him.
Really? Actually, yeah, because then by the end of his contract, okay,
Yeah.
that's a good way to.
Yeah, if you look at some of the other long-term contracts like Crosby or anything like that, those contracts look like sweetheart deals now.
Yeah, it's very true.
Like Crosby making 8.7.
Well, the
is
cap
dumb.
was lower then, right?
Yeah, the cap was lower then, and
but
so
that's why I guess
the
you're right.
cap percentage is more comparable to. It's still less than the equivalent of what McDavid makes now, but it's comparable. It's within like 2% of the cap, and so as those contracts age, they become better and better as the cap goes up and up. And so, if it's an 8-year deal, which I don't really think is going to happen at this point, but if it is 8 years, I think that it could get into like this mid-7s up to 8 range.
Yeah.
And I think that's when the general fan base might be a little up in arms about the contract, but I don't think they should be.
Well, Nylander's agent, correct me if I'm wrong, is Lindholm and Goudreau's,
yes.
right? So then last year, those are 2 players that went
into the season.
into the season before they signed.
Yep,
I'd say, a
Lindholm went
healthy deal.
until almost
End
a
of
full
Oc-
month into
yeah.
the season.
Gaudreau's
And Johnny
first
Gaudreau signed it like a day before the opening day.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And both of those deals look real nice right now.
Exactly.
I think it gets to a point where it looks bad on the player if he's still holding out.
Like the
We
Gaudreau
don't know who's
contract's an
holding out.
interesting
It's very true.
comparable.
Actually, we don't know
We
who's holding out.
don't know where.
The sides stand
Each-
on the matter. Yeah.
For all we know, Dubas could be sitting at a 5 number.
I
The
really
way
hope he's not,
the way
but yeah.
that
Yeah.
it's gone on so far, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot lower than we think. Like
Really?
we're thinking 6.5 to 7. Well, not necessarily a lot lower, but the way that it's going, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 6.25 or 6.
That I see it like a 5-year contract though.
Yep.
I don't see him
It's
signing
shorter term.
6. Yeah.
Now the Gaudreau contract that you mentioned is an interesting comparable because it's 6.75.
Right.
Over how many?
I believe it was 6 years.
Yeah.
That's a really good deal for Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, it was 6 years, 40.5 mil,
it's a
so it
good
was
deal for the
6.75 per. And it was after his really big season in 15-16.
He's still young. He's still
Yeah, he's
got a
still
lot
only
of talent.
25.
I if we could get a deal like that for Nylander, like hell yeah.
And then the Hampus Lindholm one is just absolutely insane. It's 5.2 mil.
Yeah.
For one of the best defensemen in the NHL. It's dumb. 6 years, 31.5 mil. So Lewis Gross, with both of those players, went 6 years. I think Nylander is going to get 6 years. It's just a matter of where that number ends up. I think another interesting comparable is David Pastrnak and his cap hit.
Yeah, that's actually very true. I think Pastrnak, I was saying it earlier, I think he's on one of the best deals in the NHL right now.
Oh, absolutely,
because
right now.
of that postseason last year where he single-handedly beat the Toronto Maple Leafs, that line.
The whole line.
I think he's at a great deal.
Absolutely. That was another 6-year deal, 40 mil, so 6.66 mil.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good comparable because people forget that contract was signed the summer before he had that breakout season.
Yeah.
So this is already the second year of that contract. And he had a huge season last year, and that his points per game in his contract year is comparable to what Nylander's done so far in his career.
Can I pose another question to you guys?
Absolutely.
If let's say the magic number for Nylander is I'm going to say something right in the middle, 6.75 over 6.
Okay.
Does Mitch Marner deserve less or more? Or the same?
More.
I would say
more.
Same ballpark.
I say exact same ballpark.
No.
I'd say same ballpark, but because of a lot of different factors, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets significantly more.
I wouldn't hesitate to give him more if he asked for it.
Well, I'm not going to hesitate to give a player more money if I'm going to be able to keep him. I don't think that's really the argument.
Yeah.
I think it's more about I think there's a discrepancy in how people view Nylander and Marner. They're a lot closer than people think. I still think Marner has a slight edge on him.
They're close.
They have two very, very impressive skill sets. Both of them are really, really skilled players. One's a better shooter. The other one's a better passer.
To me, it's just the way I watch it. I love Nylander. I love him. I want him on this team. And I'm not going to say let's trade Nylander.
Don't do that.
No, I'm not.
I'll kick you off this show.
All I'm saying is that I have never seen Nylander control a game like Marner, like I've seen Marner. Marner can put a game on his back, and I've seen it happen multiple times.
Yeah, but Nylander also adds an element of like that you just don't have from Marner, which is like scoring, which is the big one. Which I mean, okay, yeah, Marner's like more of a playmaker. Like they're different styles on the ice, but like I think you need scorers around playmakers, and I just think I don't know. Nylander's just more of not more valuable. But I think he's equally as valued to this team as Mitch.
Now, do you think that the Nylander not taking over a game thing is because of a certain player that he's played with his whole career?
Yeah,
that makes sense. No, that's fair to say because he's been with Matthews.
And he doesn't really have the chance to take over something, whereas Marner's mainly played with Tyler Bozak and James Van Riemsdyk, who 5-on-5 are
last year.
Yeah, Kadri as well. But even Kadri doesn't really take over games.
No, he takes himself out of games.
Not wrong on that one. But when Kadri is quote unquote taking over a game, it's because he made a big hit and probably did something dumb.
I mean, he's had a couple like multi-goal games. Like,
I'm not saying that he's not capable of like scoring or anything like that. He's back-to-back 30-goal seasons.
Yeah.
I just don't think that a player like Kadri takes over a game the same way that a Nylander could or a Marner does or a Matthews does.
Matthews does. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think we have a fair consensus on what we think about what the Nylander contract is going to end up be somewhere in the 6.5 to 7 range for about 6 years, correct?
Yeah. Hopefully
6 years.
Yeah.
Now, when do you think that happens?
After game 2.
So sometime early next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
I say I said it earlier. I say by this Sunday, the game against Chicago, he's signed.
Okay.
That's the third game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I could see it going a little bit longer. I could see it going
That's a back-to-back.
mid. I could see it going like a couple weeks into October at least.
I don't.
I think it's a lot closer to what the Lindholm situation was than the Gaudreau situation.
For me, it's what I would be scared of is watching them have success without him.
Okay, this might sound terrible, but like one of the best things that could maybe happen to get him to sign is if we play like absolute crap to start the year, and then you don't think so?
I think it's the opposite.
Really?
Because if you're the Leafs management and you're having the best success right now with what you have and what's working,
and you're like, why don't you just come join us? We'll be even better.
No, what it would be. Why is it so important that we have you here?
Well,
that's what it is to me.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
like,
that's
if you're
that's absolutely what
controlling games,
the argument would be from them.
If you're controlling games and we are absolutely like just in like we're dominating.
Right.
First 4 games of the season
why
are
am I
pretty
in such
easy
a
too.
rush to bring you back and inject you into this lineup that's working perfectly into that line where you know you're going to go beside Matthews with
I know.
Marlowe?
I don't know. I just really want him on the team.
Oh, I do too. No, I do too. Yeah.
I just want to see what this team looks like when
Don't
they've
get
got
it
that
twisted.
insane top
Like-
6 going.
Yeah, I am. It's
And an important part as well right now is that now that this season's officially started, Nylander's losing money.
oh yeah, because you
Yeah,
make
that's
money per
very true.
game, right?
As soon as when you sign after the season started, it's on a prorated basis
Yeah.
with the amount of games that are left. And so each day that goes by, he's losing anywhere between 25,000 and 40,000, depending on what he signs for.
I wish.
That's some bones. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully it all gets figured out and we can all just be happy Leafs fans with Marner, Matthews, and Nylander all together.
And
again.
Tavares.
And Tavares. How could I
Gotta
forget?
get used to that.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
No,
pretty
yeah.
fun, you know.
If I'm Nylander, I'm just saying, all right, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Let's just get this
Because
going.
it gets to a point where like you obviously want to be on the ice. Like he's a professional hockey player. Like that's his job. Like you're gonna miss. And like clearly, if you become a pro hockey player, you love the game. He's gonna miss playing hockey.
Oh yeah.
He hasn't played a regulation like hockey game since the playoffs last year now. So
And people act like he's gonna come to the Leafs and be completely out of shape because he missed training camp
No.
and stuff.
You seen
no.
those Reebok ads?
yeah.
Oh, I've seen those Reebok ads. No, he's training overseas in Sweden. Like, it's not like he just sat on the couch and was like, okay, I'm not doing anything until the contract's
Yeah.
signed. He's going to come. He's going to be in really good shape. He's going to come to this team, and I'm excited to see what
He's
he
gonna
does.
score a goddamn hat trick in his first game. I'm just kidding, but he's gonna have a.
I mean, he's playing with Marlowe now. Like, I mean, that's one thing that people haven't really talked about. Hyman is off of that line. Marlowe's there. We haven't seen what it looks like with Nylander there, but it's looked pretty good with Tyler Ennis, who, no offense, is not a top line player anymore. I think that line could be absolutely disgusting.
And this is taking control of his opportunity. Giving
He
him the
is.
opportunity.
Okay, here's one other Leafs lineup thing. Nylander comes back. Ennis, Levo, who goes out?
Depends who's playing better. Let's
Levo
just-
at first.
I need to
first,
see
Levo.
the season who's playing better.
At first, it's Levo for me, just because Babcock loves his veterans, players that can like lead by example. And Levo will be with the team at the end of the year,
Okay.
the way I see it. But at first, I think it's Levo that gets the boot because
Okay.
why not?
What if
So
Levo has
it's-
like a point per game? Or
He
He's
did
come-
that.
he's
He
coming
did
to
that
the
the last
league,
time he
yeah.
played with
It's
Kadri.
actually that's
He's
very
coming
true.
to the league
yeah.
and put up points before, and he's
Yeah.
been
Been-
out as soon as the players come back.
True, I forgot. To
But
Mike
that was when it was
Babcock.
Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah, but you're right. But Babcock loves his veterans as well.
Okay, now
Yeah.
now here's a question. In 73 games, do you think Josh Levo could put up more than 22 points
Yeah.
Oh, most certainly.
Well, where is he playing?
with Kadri?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's what Ennis did last year. He put up 22 points.
That's,
Yeah,
well,
but
yeah.
who was Ennis playing with last year?
He was playing with a mix of different guys.
Okay. Who would you
He-
say?
Because even before that, though, the year before with Buffalo, who granted is Buffalo, he had 13 points in 51 games.
It's,
Like, it's been a few years since
Yeah.
Tyler Ennis did anything of note. Like, the last time he did anything was in 14-15 when he had 46 points in 78 games.
yeah.
And so, unless he finds that kind of form again, I wouldn't be that surprised if it's Ennis that's the placeholder and it's just a straight swap with Nylander when he comes back. Because Levo, the last time he played with Kadri, put up 10 points in 12 games.
Well, they took Ennis off of waivers, correct?
They
No.
got,
They signed him to them.
yeah, Minnesota bought him out, and they signed him to a league minimum
That's
deal.
right, you're right. I don't. You picked him up for a reason. You're not going to pick him up and then not play him a couple games. So that's what I'm
Unless
saying.
the reason you picked him up was to be your extra forward.
Yeah. Because he's on a veteran minimum or a league minimum. Sorry. So
Yeah.
it's like.
True.
Get out of here with your basketball.
Sorry. Yeah.
But no, I think that's a really interesting thing to watch this season, especially with how both of them perform. Because if Levo comes out of the lineup, I don't think it's very long before we see something happen with Levo in terms of waivers or trade. Because Dubas is not going to deal with that again.
Oh yeah, that's right. You also need to lose another contract off of your roster when Nylander comes back.
Yep, and I think that one's pretty obvious. It would be Freddie
Right.
Gauthier going down. No. No, it's 100% Frederick Gauthier going down.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, there's no reason to have him on the roster. He's not an NHL player.
Gauthier, no.
No.
Unfortunately not. I was so optimistic for him, but he just hasn't.
Like, his career high in the AHL isn't even like 25
He
points.
can win face-offs.
And that's about it.
That's about it. Yeah. It's like the David Steckel.
There's a couple of players on the Leafs you could say, and
No,
that's
he
about
hasn't
it.
even broke 20 points in the AHL.
Yeah.
His career high in the AHL is 18 points in 56 games.
And correct me if I'm wrong, we wasted a 21st overall draft pick.
You
on him.
know it.
Yeah. It's
Do we want to
unfortunate.
do this and look
No,
at who the
yeah.
Leafs missed? I know Shea Theodore off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Andre Burakovsky, that would be cool.
Oh, Shea Theodore would have been perfect.
Yeah. There's some nice
Ryan
ones.
Hartman.
Yeah,
not a
Ryan
big
Hartman
name.
is an
Yeah.
interesting one.
Well, he's worth a first-round pick apparently. So.
Well,
What
he
the
was.
hell was
yeah,
that?
I still
What?
don't
I don't
understand,
understand
that trade.
that.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, that one's bad.
Everybody just does whatever they can. for
That
the
draft
Blackhawks.
wasn't-
like,
It wasn't a great draft. No.
No, it
but-
wasn't a great draft, but there were some guys available, especially at the Leafs pick. Like, I remember hoping that Anthony Amantha would fall, and he went one pick before.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've got all of our Leafs talk out of the way.
Yeah.
okay,
Do we want to get to our hot takes?
Yeah.
sure, go
Why
for
not?
it.
Who wants to go first?
You.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Well, I think you both know it already.
Oh,
The Arizona Coyotes will make the playoffs.
okay.
Discuss.
My only problem with that, I can name 3 teams off the top of my head that I know will be stronger than Arizona
And where?
You know or
in
think?
in the West.
in the
In their
Pacific.
division.
In the
Okay, who?
Pacific. San Jose,
Yeah,
Yes.
obviously.
LA.
No.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
think LA's that good.
LA is
LA's
old.
good enough.
They can't skate, and
Yeah.
Dustin Brown's already out. He's already on IR.
It depends what Kopitar we see this year as well.
It depends what kind of Ilya
You have
Kovalchuk we
Jonathan
get as
See
well.
as well, yeah.
Kopitar, Kovalchuk, Drew Doughty.
I actually
Their defense.
Their defense is good enough, and their forward group can get them there, and their goaltender
Depends
can
if
damn
you
well
see-
get them there.
Okay,
you
but
s-
if you compare that to Arizona's roster, I don't think that there's that big of a discrepancy where you can go LA is absolutely in and I
Okay.
don't know about Arizona.
I've looked at Arizona in previous years and said, hey, this could be a year they challenge.
Okay, but could be and this roster are two different things.
Yeah, this roster's pretty good. Everyone's more developed. Like all the young
Especially when
players.
Alex Galchenyuk comes back when they have a fully healthy Jacob Chikrin.
Jake Chikrin's gonna carry that team with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Like you have 2 of the best defensemen in the NHL.
You've got Ekman Larson, you've got Jalmerson, you've got Demers, you've
they're-
got Chikrin on
and,
that
and
blue line.
Ranta can prove himself.
Antti Ranta,
Yeah.
who led the league in save percentage
Percentage.
as a starter.
Yeah. All
How
I'm
many games
saying,
did he play? He was injured.
He
Yeah.
played like 50. He was injured at the
Yeah.
start of the year and then basically played every game.
I'm co-signing this hot take. I honestly, now that he's told me all this information, I agree. I think they could. Do
And
I
the
just- I
Pacific
just
is
can't see it.
definitely the worst division in hockey.
Yeah.
They're-
Well,
Oh, no, yeah, that's not.
It's also the most
that's not a
unknown
question.
division.
he
in
played
hockey.
47 games last year and had a 930.
Yeah, it's
Ranta.
really good.
Okay. So if say they don't make a top 3, because they easily couldn't make a top 3 spot in the Pacific.
They could still get a
No,
wild
I
card.
think that they're a wild card team.
No, but the wild card's hard because
Central.
look at the Central. Every team in that division.
But
could
the
technically-
thing with that, though, is that although they may be better teams in the Central, there's so many good teams in the Central that have to play
each
themselves
other's-
over and
yeah.
over that naturally brings down the average point total for everyone because there's a lot of games that are going both ways. And so instead of one team picking up 4 points, they're picking up 2 and the other team's picking up 2.
Yeah. Like
And
this hot take.
I think that's one thing that's happened
Okay,
recently
yeah.
with the Atlantic and the Metro as well. Because the Metro is a lot deeper than the Atlantic.
Right.
And so the Atlantic has the higher point totals because they've got Detroit, Montreal, Buffalo, etc. in the division to boost the point totals. Whereas
Aren't
the
you gonna say
Metro.
Ottawa?
Well, I'm talking about in the last couple of
oh,
years.
okay, sorry.
Okay.
And then you've got the Metro, which is just a death trap.
Yeah.
And so
Good hot take.
I could see that.
I like it.
You next, because I'm
Okay.
trying to, like,
So
decide
the
between
rookie of
2.
the year is gonna, or the Calder winner is gonna come out of Buffalo, but it's not who you're thinking. Casey Middlestat. Whoa, he wins the Calder. I'm basically basing this off of what Matt Barzal did last year, whereas like there's all these hype around like Nico Herscher, like Nolan Patrick, and all them, but like someone who is already in the organization. I mean, I could have said like, you know what, probably like Elias Pettersson probably has a better chance of winning.
Yeah.
That's
but-
my pick.
Yeah, but there's
Yeah,
just
I
something
think
about
so, too.
Middlestat's game when I watch him play that I really like. As a Canada fan, it's kind of hard to watch him play for Team USA sometimes, but I don't know. I think he's getting put in a good position in Buffalo where it's a
Yeah,
team,
it looks like he's going to be playing with Connor Sherry and Tage Thompson at some point.
Yeah, and those are two quality NHL players. And honestly, like when you're a young player on a team that doesn't really have a lot of expectations, like some people are saying, yeah, Buffalo should aspire to make the playoffs this year. Realistically speaking, that's still a bit of a long shot. They're just a team with very minimal expectations. So I wouldn't be shocked if he puts up really good numbers, but I also wouldn't be shocked if he puts up terrible numbers. So that's why it's my hot take, because it's pretty rare. But
yeah,
I think
last year when he got signed out of Minnesota and played with Buffalo, he did put up 5 points in 6 games as well.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just look at Matt Barzal. He's on like the same like the Islanders.
That's a really
year.
interesting comparable.
No, I'm not saying the way they play. I'm just saying the
I mean like
situation.
their situation wise. I think that's a really interesting comparable. I
Yeah.
think that's a good one.
Because the Islanders last year had no expectations. People were like, oh, they're just the Islanders, and people are now like, oh, they're just the Sabres. So
Well, the Sabres have added a lot.
they're still not a playoff team.
I don't
Carter
think
Hutton
they're
has
play.
to work out.
Yeah,
That
That's
has
my
to work
biggest
out. That's the
concern, and
biggest
I'm
thing.
not overly a
Because
big fan of
goaltenders
it.
are very.
And Linus Ullmark, I don't think is a great backup option either.
yeah.
But with Buffalo,
Oh yeah, Leonard
I
with the
just-
Islanders.
the top 3 in the Atlantic are just so strong. I don't see any other team breaking into that. And
No.
I don't see Buffalo being a better team than one of the wild cards out of the Metro.
Here comes my hot take. Get
Ooh,
ready.
how about that for a
Can I guess?
Are
segue?
you
It-
sitting on your comfy cushion to ease the butthurt that's about to come? Here's my hot take. Boston doesn't finish top 3
Yeah,
in
I
the
knew you were
Atlantic.
gonna say that. And then who beats them? Florida.
Ooh.
Florida.
Okay,
There's so many ifs, but
That's
I
my
kind of
hot
like
take.
it.
okay. That's interesting.
Mainly because I hate the Bruins.
Well, who doesn't?
No, but like
Good way to get the bias right out of the way.
I don't know. I'm just saying
That's interesting.
I look at their team and it's just the first line. And Tuukka Rask overachieved
Okay,
last
let's
year.
not.
No.
Yes.
However, no,
No.
I'm going to agree with you for a second. Torrey Krug is out right now.
Yeah.
Oh, is he?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
and that's
he's
a big
injured.
loss.
Yes.
And if they start the season bad, you never know with those kind of starts.
Chara's another year older.
Yeah.
Tuukka Rask is getting up there in age.
Yeah.
And we can
And
agree.
Yaroslav Halak is not an overly convincing backup.
No, he's not. Udobin was great for them last
Yeah,
year.
He
these
was
aren't the
Udobin-
really
Udobin,
good.
He kept them
These
in
aren't the
there.
Cadoba
He was
days.
an underrated backup
No,
last
Oh
year.
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
he deserves
So,
to start.
Can you pull up Boston's depth chart?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to see Boston's lines.
Can we look at Florida's? I'll get Florida.
Pull up
Yeah, pull
Florida's.
up
Yeah, go
Florida's.
for that. The only question mark on the Florida side before you pull it up for me is their goaltending.
No. Roberto Luongo and James Reimer?
Yeah, it's
That's
Roberto
one of the
Luongo.
deepest pair. And they've got Michael Hutchinson in the minors, too, who had one of the best save
It's not good
percentages in the
enough for me.
AHL. Not good enough
Luongo's
for you.
Okay, I love Luongo and I love Reimer.
Actually,
guys know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's just-
Boston forward lines.
Yeah,
Obviously, the top line, Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak. But after that, DeBrusque, Krejci, Heinen,
that's good. After that, it's just a huge.
Donato, Corrali, Backus, Nordstrom, Machari, Wagner.
And Anders Bjork can slide in there too.
Yeah, I just don't think Bruce Cassidy seems like a guy to me who's going to play the 5-point winger who's a veteran over Anders Bjork.
So I look at this Florida roster, and it's one of those rosters where if everything goes right, they could be really freaking good.
That was the Leafs
Because-
2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Because you got like players like Barkov, Dadonov, Trocheck, Huberdeau, like all these players.
Bukestad.
Trocheck was
Yeah.
so underrated
Mike
last
Hoffman.
year. He had a
Hoffman
crazy
in.
season.
Yeah, you got
And
to
he's
remember.
still
Oh,
got-
I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
that's-
You got Keith
everyone does.
You got Keith Yandel, Aaron Ekblad on defense.
They've got a wild card as well. They've got Henrik Borgstrom, who they sent down to
Yeah.
start in the AHL. He put up massive numbers
I mean-
in college last year.
I'd be scared of them.
The only
if I'm
question
Boston.
with their team is probably their defense after their first pairing.
Yeah, because right now it's until Torrey Krug comes back. Because right now they've got Chara McAvoy.
He was talking about.
The Flyers.
Florida.
Oh, sorry.
Or sorry, the
Yeah.
Panthers. Yeah. But I agree. Also, it's a question mark for Boston. Both these teams have question marks on defense.
Yeah. Right now, Boston's defense is looking like Chara McAvoy, John Moore, who I can't believe they gave that contract to, with Brandon Carlo, and then Matt Grzelcyk and Kevin Miller on the bottom pairing. That isn't overly convincing, and that's
it's
a
not.
pretty slow defense as well.
No, and yeah, look at Tuukka Rask's numbers from last year.
Yeah.
Those are hard to repeat for him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's not a good goaltender.
I still think
You're
he's one of
starting
the
to
better
sway
goalies.
me a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, he's a good
I
goaltender.
like that hot take.
Right?
That's good.
He's a good goaltender. He's
I
great.
just think
he's not the Vezina that he used to be.
No,
Yeah.
nowhere near.
I just think, like you said, the Panthers need to have like Leafs 2 years ago, where they have all this talent, but it's so like raw that
They're
it
gonna
just
surprise
everything
people.
needs
Jonathan Huberdeau as well.
They can surprise
Yeah,
people.
no, I don't get me wrong. Like they have a great forward. It's just their defense is god awful after their first line.
And,
Yep.
and like you were saying, you think Barkov's underrated? Just wait till this year.
Oh yeah, dude.
He could
Barkov
win a
is so
Selke
Like,
much
this
he's-
fun.
year. He
would
could have
you-
won a Selke
So
last
much.
year.
He probably should have.
Yeah.
Does
He's like
Barkov
25
play
minutes.
with Dadanoff and Bukestad?
No, he plays with Huberdeau usually.
Oh,
Not
they,
Bukestad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
They load
that's-
up that top line,
that's still
and then
a
they
rid-
have Trocheck on the second line.
That's a ridiculously good line.
That's
Mhm.
such a good
That's
line.
what I'm saying. Like they could.
I like that
They
hot
can
take.
make some noise. Yeah.
That's good.
And Boston could easily fall out because they're old and they can get.
Well, I
injured.
don't think that they'll fall out of the playoffs.
No. Yeah, sorry. I said top 3. They
Yeah,
could fall out
if
of top
if Florida finishes top 3, I think Boston still makes it as a wild card.
And then the Leafs take them as the wild card.
Stop it.
Wait, do you think the
Stop
Leafs win
it.
this,
Oh, yeah, that's
the
good.
Atlantic? That
yeah,
we can
we'll
end the
finish
show
on
on
that.
that.
That's good.
Yeah. Yes.
You say yes with how many points?
114.
I say no with 108. Tampa gets 112, but we beat Tampa in the playoffs.
I also think that the Leafs will finish second in the division.
Tampa's just so good.
Yeah, they are. They really are.
And also, their team's been together. We are adding a couple new people. Obviously, John Tavares, in case
Honestly,
you forgot.
I think. Yeah.
But, like, and that
Yeah, they
Tampa
did.
team has had the same core for the last couple of years now. So I think they're just more ready at the start of the season. But by the end of the year, I think the Leafs will be the better team. I'm
Knock-
just saying, like, we might drop some games early that we won't drop later in the year, if that makes sense.
Knock on wood. I think something happens to Tampa's roster,
Like,
This
trade-wise?
injury wise.
I don't want that, though.
No, I don't either. It's why knock wood.
It's kind of hard to project injuries. You can't really do that.
Yeah, like, I don't
Me
want to
too.
see Victor Hedman out for another
no,
year.
it's not projecting. It's
No, I know what you mean.
I think will happen.
I know, but
This is
like
my-
you
this is
never
my
know what
sixth
like
season.
Yeah, because
like
that
Tampa
team is
had
very
like
injury
all
prone.
their centers
Mhm.
get hurt one year
Yeah.
and miss the playoffs.
Victor Hedman falls out of that lineup, you're in trouble. Yeah, they do
Sergachev
have, they
can
still,
only do so
yeah,
much,
exactly.
right?
They
Yeah.
still have a very good.
They have a
young
full year of Ryan
core.
McDonough too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, that team's
So-
just good.
That's what I'm saying.
Jeez.
I honestly think the Leafs are going to overachieve this year.
Well, okay, so like you think they're gonna
Finish
outperform?
first. Pardon?
Like
you
during
think they're gonna outperform expectations
I
in
think
the
they're gonna
regular season? At
outperform,
least we'll touch on
what they
playoffs
should
and stuff
do.
at a later date.
like what
Yeah.
they. I just
Okay, so say expectations are second in the division with 110 points.
sure.
That's hell of a season.
Yeah.
Because you're playing in like one of the best.
Because I
divisions in
think that
hockey.
that first place in the division is going to go right down to the wire.
You have to remember Austin Matthews missed 20 games last year,
Yeah, that's definitely a big factor.
so 20 games without Austin Matthews, and you still hit 105
Yeah.
points.
That's
pretty
fair.
good.
And now you have John Tavares in that lineup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
With
Austin
casually
Matthews
throw in
hopefully
John
being healthy.
Tavares
Yeah.
and no
Right,
Roman
but-
Polak.
But Martin Marinson's back, so
Yeah.
red flag.
Well, he's not going to play.
Red
Who knows?
flag.
Why is okay? Martin. I love Martin Marinson,
Make it quick.
but relax. We got time. We've got
Make it
like
quick.
2 minutes.
I just don't want to talk about this.
See, this is why we brought up Martin Marinson at the end, so that we have to get cut off. I like Martin Marinson as a player.
Why?
I just don't think. Well, because okay,
Let's
we're
not get
we're
into
not
it.
getting into this. We've done this like 3 times already. Martin Marinson isn't going to play.
No.
He's not getting in the lineup
Yeah.
over any of the left side guys, and he's not going to play on the right side.
Thank
He's
God.
there as the extra in case somebody
So he
gets
gets
hurt.
injured. Yeah, and he's a perfectly capable extra defenseman in the NHL.
Exactly.
I've settled on that.
He's a
I
good
would have
6'7".
preferred Connor
Game
Carrick,
6.
but if he's an extra defenseman who doesn't have to play unless there's an
2016.
injury, unless knock on wood, like you've said that there's no injury, it's fine.
Game 6, 2016, 2017. That's where I'll end it.
Yeah,
Okay,
Martin Marincin comes in for Roman Polak.
whatever.
okay. You know what?
I think
Stop with the Martin Marinson
That's where we'll leave
bashing.
it.
I don't appreciate that.
All right.
Not a fan.
How did I know that you were gonna do this with Martin Marinson? You had to.
Yeah.
You had to. Now
All
I'm
right,
all
let-
upset.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Now
cut
that
it.
I'm all upset and I'm gonna go talk about Martin Marinson for another half hour after this. This has been fun, guys.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do this
First
for the
of
rest
many.
of the season.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Lots
we'll be
gonna
back
happen
in
in
a
2
couple weeks after reading week. Remember, every Wednesday at noon, you'll be able to hear from us with our terrible takes about the latest in the National Hockey League. But thank you for listening, and we'll be back in a couple weeks. We hope you enjoy the first couple weeks of the NHL season.
Woo.